𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅, the secret ruler of the world government, probably has the most mind-boggling power in all of One Piece. If you thought the Nika fruit was overpowered, then Imo is about to be straight up broken, with one of the strongest devil fruit powers imaginable. I mean, if this is correct, then Imo is clearly One Piece final boss material. Okay, so the king of the pirates is the person with the most freedom on the sea. But little does Luffy know, little does the world know that there is a true king in the One Piece world, and that no one is free. If anyone is to claim the One Piece, it's not the rival members of the worst generation that they have to worry about, nor the fearsome Yonko. Well, not even the almighty Cross Guild is the biggest threat on the Grand Line right now, despite having the greatest swordsman in the world and the greatest clown in the world among their numbers. Now, the faction that has the most to lose from the One Piece being discovered is the world government. The future fleet admiral Sakazuki didn't think twice about condemning an entire island to a fiery death if it meant restricting the knowledge of the poneglyphs, the objects that reveal the true history and lead to the ultimate treasure. I mean, they'd even imprison one of their own CP9 agents, who's who, for losing the Nika fruit, which is somehow connected to the legacy of Joy Boy, the one who ultimately created the One Piece. It's obvious that the world government will do anything to stop this treasure from being revealed, and at the top of the world government, I mean, at the top of the whole world, is not a pirate king. That seat has long sat vacant ever since Roger's execution. The person with the most power and I guess freedom in the One Piece world, even if most of the people don't know about it, is the mysterious 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅. And chances are that this mysterious entity will pull out all the stops in order to prevent any pirates from claiming the One Piece and learning the true history. There are a lot of candidates for who will be Luffy's final opponent. Could it be Kainu or Blackbeard or the infamous Buggy the Clown? We actually made a whole video about just that you can check out later. Only time will tell really who Luffy's final matchup will be. But 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅 is one of the prime candidates here without any doubt. I mean, the world government and in extension the Marines have been the story's leading, overarching antagonist ever since the earliest chapters in the East Blue even. If the final opponent ends up being the world government and not another pirate crew like Blackbeard or Shanks, the most likely big bad guy could be and should be 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅. Even though Luffy has a personal grudge against the Kainu, 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅 is the ultimate leader of the world government and a Kainu. And if Luffy represents this whole new dawn of the world, if he beats the drums of liberation and brings freedom to the world, then 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅 may represent the opposite, the highest authority in the world, putting people across the seas in chains, both literally and metaphorically, I guess. But if 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅 is a fighter worthy of occupying the spot of Luffy's final opponent, then they need to give us one hell of a fight, and he needs a power set that contends with the wild abilities of the sun god Nika fruit. One of the prevailing theories of Nika's fruit is that they have the most overpowered possible fruit, the water fruit, or sea fruit, or ocean, or the fruit of some unnamed sea god, whatever you want to call it. It's the wettest fruit around. Pure water as opposed to muddy water like Karibu's swamp, or cold water like Kuzan's ice powers. I guess technically Kuzan is just cold or whatever. What matters is that devil fruit users all lose the ability to swim. The sea drains them of their abilities and even the ability to move while being submerged. So someone with a water fruit would be a natural counter not only to something like the Mera Mera no Mi, like Luffy was with Enel's lightning fruit, but we're talking about a hard counter to every single devil fruit. If we think that the Nika fruit seems OP, with all its abilities seemingly breaking reality and applying cartoon logic to Luffy's stretching and shapeshifting, then get ready to a whole lot OP'er when 𝙬𝚐𝚐𝚅 simply turns off all devil fruit abilities with just a nice big soak. Besides the idea that a water fruit would of course just be absurdly broken, it would make a lot of sense for 𝙬𝚐𝚅 to have. The Japanese word umi means sea or ocean. Umi backwards spelled is emu. Coincidence? Well, probably not, given how much Oda loves his wordplay. It's just too on the nose not to have any meaning at all. And I mean, thematically, emu having a sea fruit makes sense as well. They're the being with the most power on the seas. The dangerous oceans of the One Piece world are what keep people separated, isolated from each other on their individual small islands. Really, only by gathering a capable crew with a navigator and so on and so forth, by braving the treacherous tides and turbulent weather of the Grand Line, can members of different countries even connect politically and economically in the first place. And so this separation makes it, of course, all the lot easier for the world government to exert control over the seas, especially giving their monopoly on 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚐𝚐, the sea stone that allows their ships to move safely through the calm belt, bypassing its deadly sea kings. If 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚐 controls the oceans in a figurative sense, maybe their fruit allows them to control the oceans in a much more literal sense? However, this is of course not the only power that would make sense for this all-powerful figure of the One Piece world. If emu is umi backwards, maybe they're not the ocean at all. Maybe they're the opposite of the ocean, the classic Oda, spin arounds. And a lot of the time when we're thinking about elemental powers, we think of water and fire being opposites, but in the context of One Piece, I don't think that fire really makes sense as the opposite of the ocean. I would actually go much more Pokemon Emerald with this, because in One Piece, you're either at sea or you're on land. We've seen Pika Stone Fruit and Crocodile Sand Fruit. We've even had Miss Merry Christmas's Tunneling Mole Fruit, but we've yet to see a proper Earth fruit in the series. The closest maybe might be the Revolutionary Commander Morley's Oshi Oshi no Mi, which allows her to push the ground and mold it as if it were clay. However, this fruit is a Paramecia. We're still missing an Earth Logia in a club that includes other elements like fire, ice, and so on, forest. Speaking of Morley though, it's really interesting because did you know that this revolutionary has a bounty of almost 300 million berries? Impressive and befitting of the world's most wanted people in the world. It's far more than the slithering slime man Treble's 99 million berry bounty, and with your help, we could also overtake Treble and raise our own bounty by hitting that subscribe button and raising my bounty by 100 berries too. Thank you. Now, the Earth fruit, of course, doesn't feel as overpowered as something like a sea fruit, but it also feels a lot more likely to exist in the first place. If devil fruit users are cursed by the sea, and the sea is their ultimate weakness, it might not make much sense for there to be a sea fruit after all. And we really can't discard Earth as one of the 4 classic elements. It would definitely still pack quite a punch as a devil fruit. And having the Earth fruit would make a lot of thematic sense for emu as well. Pirates like Luffy setting out to sea is representative of finding freedom and adventure. It's the opposite of being trapped on land, like Luffy was for so long when he was too young still to set sail with Ace or Shanks. And so if the open sea gives pirates freedom, then the earth or the land represents the opposite. I mean, where else but the land do the Straw Hats find corrupt kingdoms and monarchies like that of Walpole, when pirates like Arlong, Crocodile, and Doflamingo gave up adventuring on sea, well, they also turned to dominating others on islands, on lands. And emu having the Earth fruit would also solve one of the biggest mysteries in One Piece. Who created the Red Line and how? Back when Luffy's fruit was still thought to be just a rubber fruit, he showed us how creative, strong, and willful fruit users can turn even an average fruit into a force to be really reckoned with. Now, the Earth fruit might not seem overpowered compared to other Logia fruits at first glance, but imagine if emu is powerful enough to create a whole continent. If emu was alive during the Void Century, which is very likely, perhaps they're the reason that there are no continents anymore save the Red Line. Using an Earth fruit, 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐 would have reshaped the world to their liking. Land masses could have been sunk, leaving the human population disparate and scattered all across distant islands. The Red Line could have been erected to serve as a boundary to border seas from each other and restrict travel between parts of the globe. 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐 itself, Marijoa, even sits atop this mighty landmass. And if this really is Ym's power, then Luffy will need a fruit as powerful as the Nika fruit, to even stand a chance in the first place. But, and I know you've been waiting for this, water and earth aren't the only option for Imu's potential power either. There could be a to-be-determined mythical zone to rival the Nika fruit. Maybe a sea god fruit, or, well, we speculated in a previous video that you can watch here that Blackbeard possesses a moon god fruit. Maybe Ym-sama is the real moon god to Luffy's sun god instead. If Oda does have Ym as the final villain instead of Blackbeard, that could be very fitting too. And after seeing Shanks' incredible feat of Conqueror's Haki in chapter 1055, we have to really wonder if Ym even needs a devil fruit at all in the first place. Perhaps just like Shanks, Ym-sama is just a purely overpowered Haki user. However, one has to really wonder in that case, how strong is the Conqueror's Haki of someone who has literally conquered the entire globe? Shanks' Haki stopped Aramaki in his tracks from miles off away the coast of Wano, so could Ym's Haki have even further reach than just that? Then there's also the matter of the saber that Ym carries. So far, we've only seen him use it to tear up bounty posters, like a little child, in order to let the Gorosei know which light needs to be extinguished. We do have to wonder though, if maybe that's not all that sword is good for. Luffy is particularly susceptible to cutting, slashing, and stabbing attacks, but this would be a strange route for Oda to go down to. Either Mihawk isn't actually the strongest swordsman in the world and it's Ym instead, or Zoro would end up with a more powerful opponent than Luffy in the final war, which I do know there are some people out there who would probably be okay with that. But then of course there is also a somewhat anticlimactic option. Imo might just not be a fighter in the first place. It wouldn't be the first time that a major antagonist wasn't a combatant. In Water 7 and its lobby, one of the other notable times the Straw Hats went up against the world government directly, the leader of CP9 and arguably the central villain was Spandam. Spandam, despite his special sword Funk Freed, was not a fighter, as he proved to us a lot of times. This incompetent, sniveling, and utterly punchable Cypher Pole operative relied on the muscle of ZP9 and Rob Lucci, and Lucci ended up becoming Luffy's primarily fighting opponent for that arc. So it could be that Ym-sama, like most celestial dragons, simply relies on the military might of the Marines to carry out their will and for their protection. It could be that the Gorosei serve as Ym's lead guard, though it isn't yet quite confirmed whether they're fighters either. You and me just really hope that we will see Gandhi break out that sword at some point. And so, while I personally like to believe that they must have some sort of power, it's still unclear what Imu's role in the story will actually be. But after the introduction at the Reverie, it's very clear that they will play a pivotal, maybe the central role in the final saga. We still need to know what the Great Cleansing is all about, and to learn how the world government plans to carry it all out. Maybe the Marine secret weapon, the SSG, the Special Science Group, will play some part in it. But with so little One Piece left, here's to hoping that Oda can pack in as many wild fights and earth-shattering revelations as possible. And if you track all the people that Luffy still has to punch before the end of the story and why, well, you should really watch this video right here next.